knowing what I know now, well, I still would have done what I did. But knowing what I know, I bet you we could have almost wholesaled. We could have done a subdivision and wholesaled that first house and probably made $100,000 on that without even touching it.
Yeah.
Because the property was so hot. It was such a great looking location.
It was.
We didn't know about all that back then. We didn't know about wholesaling and how to do all that. But looking back, we probably could have made just as much.
Welcome to the BiggerPockets Best Deal Ever show. I'm your lovable host, Ken Corsini, who with my wife, Anita, have flipped over 800 houses in Atlanta since 2005 and even have a show on HGTV. But this show isn't about us. It's about all the amazing real estate investors out there that are crushing it. It's about their stories, their best deals, how they sourced them, how they funded them, and what we can learn from their experiences. This is the Best Deal Ever show. Hey, this is Ken Corsini with the Best Deal Ever show. Today I am joined by my good friends, Glenn and Amber Schwarm. How you guys doing?
Hey, Ken. We're
Ken.
great.
Good to see you again, buddy.
Looks like you guys are doing great there on the beach, right?
I wish.
Sure, that's how it works. That's how we roll in our world.
You guys definitely win the award for the best backdrop. I'll give you that.
I'm channeling that warmth because it's literally like 9 degrees outside today.
Oh, yeah. So tell everybody where you are.
Upstate New York.
Yeah, we're up by Albany, New York. So we're in the coldest part of the whole country, probably. So it is what it is.
That's
Yes.
true. A few
It's
days
bone
before
chilling
Christmas.
Yeah.
You guys have snow on the ground, all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah.
2 or 3 feet of it. Oh yeah.
No way. Are
Oh
you
yeah, we've been
serious?
beat up this year. Yeah, it's been a crazy winter. It just got started here.
Yeah, a couple days after Thanksgiving, it dumped 22 inches in 24 hours.
That actually shut our city down for a day.
Yeah.
How do you even do real estate for like the 3 or 4 months out of the year when everything's just covered in snow?
You pay people to plow it out of the way.
Well, when you say that, but we just recorded an episode of one of our shows, and we're literally walking in snow up to our waist. Like we're walking through, we're trudging through. We had to get there. Their camera guy, he had a hard time getting through.
Actually,
it was pretty funny.
what was even funnier about that though, we went in the house, there were these huge icicles that were hanging by the front door. I mean, they were probably 2 feet long each. I mean, the icicles were huge.
And about 20 feet long.
Yeah, all across the whole front of the house. And then we walked out and all of the icicles were on the ground. And thank goodness, while we were on the porch, they didn't fall off. There was a snow slide on the roof. So
I heard a crash inside. I thought like something happened outside, and sure enough, they all came crashing off at the same time.
I mean, in all seriousness, you could have gotten impaled if those had fallen on you.
That's something I don't deal with. I've never worried about being impaled by any icicles in Atlanta. It's only in upstate New York.
Amber may have had that set up for me. I just didn't time it just right. That may be what happened there.
That's right. She's like,
I may have lucked out. Yeah.
Next house, we'll try again.
I just paid the life insurance. I don't know some correlation there. I don't know.
She kept pushing to raise the value too. It's really, I don't know what that was about.
Really strange. I don't know.
That's funny. But in all seriousness, you guys have a thriving business in upstate New York. You guys wholesale and fix and flip, or primary wholesale? What's your primary model?
Now it used to be a lot more of the other way around, but now we do a lot. We'll do about 80 to 90 deals this year. We'll see how many we're going to close here as the year winds up, but between 80 and 90, and it's mostly wholesale. Then we cherry pick a dozen or so renovations, and then we hang on to rentals too, single family or 2-family rentals.
Yep.
So we try to hang on to anywhere from 6 to a dozen of those a year as well.
And then we're turning some of those into Airbnbs.
Yeah, we're doing short-term rentals on those too. So.
Interestingly enough, it's where you guys are right now, right?
We are
in one of your Airbnbs, which I think is great.
Yeah, we have the beach in the back of in the basement of our Airbnb. So
wouldn't that be great? We actually brought in sand and everything. It's the real experience.
We have that in our pool out back.
We did.
That's true. That's right. You guys do. That's amazing. So so upstate New York, I mean, you're working in Albany for the most part. Is that right?
It's called the Capital Region. It's Albany and all the surrounding cities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And from what I can tell, because I've spent a little time with you up there, I mean, it seems like the margins are pretty darn good. What's like an average price point for a house up in Albany?
I'd say to buy before we fix it up, you mean?
And then what's a resale?
I think realistically, we're looking probably in anywhere from the 50 to 100 range, to buy, and then resale, you're looking in anywhere from the mid 100 to mid 200 range ARV.
Okay. That's
average ARV. Yeah, I think the average median price is about $220 for houses here.
Okay.
For regular houses.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the other thing that you do that a lot of folks probably haven't graduated into is you do a lot of television, right? You guys do a lot of local television to find deals. How has that worked for you guys?
We started about 7 years ago. We just started with one station and kind of growing. we're well known in our area because of that. So we've really branded ourselves. And so now we added a jingle on about a year ago, and that's really changed things.
Uh-oh.
And now people hate us because they know our jingle. So like, I hear that, it's in my head. I'm like, awesome. So it works.
Yeah, exactly. I don't care if you hate it as long as you remember it.
Exactly. Yeah. So people go, oh, you guys are the ones. So we get a lot of recognition, and that, I think that helps because, you know, obviously you can't make somebody sell their house, but people are funny too. They'll see it, they'll go, hey, you guys are on TV. I go, yeah. They go, we're not selling our house. I go, I wasn't asking.
They just assume you're going to weasel it out of them somehow.
No, I'm like, I didn't ask you to sell your house. Okay.
But branding yourself does separate you from just the people that are going out and putting the We Buy Houses signs on the telephone poles, you know.
Yeah.
And some people might feel more comfortable calling that kind of person, but some other people want the more solid business, you know, to think that they're not getting scammed. And,
that's right. Yeah, I'm sure it feels more legitimate when they're dealing with you guys because you're well known and you've got ads. Everybody knows if you run a commercial, you're legitimate, right?
Right, of course.
That's the funny part, right? People think they're on TV. They must be somebody. No, I just paid money.
Yep.
That's all
That's right. Yeah.
I just pay tens of thousands every month to do that. So yeah.
Right.
So,
right. And is that your primary model for marketing for acquiring off market?
No, we do. So, you know, ironically, most of it comes in from there. That's probably where the lion's share of the money goes, but we do a lot of certainly digital and social media, and also direct mail. So
okay.
That's, you know, we kind of spread it out among all those.
Yep.
They all seem to work well together, you know, because you never know. People come in through Google, and our marketing company will say, "Let's came in through Google." I'm like, yeah, but they actually saw us on TV, then Googled us.
Right.
So it's tough to track some of that, you know.
And all that stuff just supports each other because, you know, there's that old saying in marketing, you have to have like 7 touches or 10 touches or whatever before somebody actually makes a move. So, you know, maybe they see us on TV and then they see us on social media and then they get a direct mail piece. And, you know, it all works together.
It is very tough, I would imagine, to track back to TV because who knows after they saw the jingle what they did next.
Right. We make sure that our acquisitions team is always asking, but people are funny. They'll say, "Oh, I heard you on the radio." We actually don't run radio ads. So I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
so
right, exactly."
It's so funny. So you do the best to assume they know. If they say they mention the jingle, then we know that's going to be TV. So we do our best. We're going to actually have some different phone numbers for different. I haven't told you about this, but different phone numbers for different stations now.
Oh,
see if we can sort of track some of that. You know, we're trying to track the best we can to get the best ROI we can.
But even with that only works if they call the number. If they go to the website.
Right.
Exactly. Well, they still might have watched it on one and then called on the other. You just don't know.
Right.
But
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's working. You're doing TV. It's a lot of money, but you're getting enough leads and you are getting the ROI.
Yeah. And I think that, like Amber said, I think just making us legitimate and making us a real company.
Yeah.
They see our office, people stop in, you know, it all helps.
That's right. That's right. So you've been at this, how long? How many years have you guys been in business?
Since the end of 2007. The end of 2007, we did our first one. So what's that?
We bought it in 2007. We sold it when the market crashed in 2008. Right. So that was kind of that's when so we didn't, people have always said, oh yeah, you guys were brilliant. You got in the right time. Like, no, we were just broke. We're brilliant. We were broke. Yeah. We had to make large chunks of cash and didn't know how to do that. So we got into real estate. So that's what we did it with 2007. Did one house, then that was the first year, 3 the next year, then 7. We jumped to 20. That was too fast. We kind of grew too fast and learned a lot in there.
Yeah.
The cracks in our armor started showing at that point.
I always say when you take any structure in the world and apply pressure to it, the weakest spots will crack first.
Yep.
You know, so whatever it is, that's same with a business. If you put pressure on it, the weakest spots is where you start to ooze.
Very true.
You know, so we learned a lot the hard way with that. So
ironically,
we're still learning every day.
I think it was that year we bought the deal we're going to talk about today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive right in. That's a great segue. Let's dive right in. How did you find your best deal, and what made it your best deal? Just curious.
We made $221,000 on it.
Enough said.
Show's over.
Show's over. Thank you for everybody for joining us today. No. Okay, so let's talk about how you found this deal.
This is really a cool story because this house, number one, is in a town called Guilderland, which is a pretty high-end area. Great school districts. The average house sells for a lot more there. There are houses in this area that are over $1 million, you know, which is a lot for our area. Yeah. And this particular house, I got a phone call from an agent. In the early days, and we still do, we work a lot with agents to get pocket listings.
Yep.
And I'm sure everyone knows what that is. But he called me and said, hey, Glenn, got a house in Guilderland on 2.5 acres. and it's like a 3,000 square foot ranch. And I said, with a pool, and I said, I'm listening. And he said, here's the deal. The bank will not allow me to list it on the local MLS because they hate them. So these MLSs can be very political and very weird, right? So this particular MLS had pissed off this bank apparently, and they said, we're going to list it on another one. It's called the Montgomery Fonda Fultonville, which is probably 30 miles away. Well, most people up there aren't going to know about the market down here.
Right.
It won't be pounced on like sharks. So I said, I'll go look at it. So we drove in the house that day and we pulled in. Now the address was Foster Lane PR, which stands for private road. I didn't know that.
Okay.
But we drove back in and went, oh, wow. We had literally just moved into our own house that we had renovated for a year.
Like 2 days before that.
2 days before we drove into that house till
and then our
almost.
hearts kind of like sunk. Although we love our house, but this piece of property was just,
wow.
2.5 acres. It was a private road. There was a pool. It was a huge cape. It was like private. I went, and Amber, I looked at each other for 2 seconds and went, No. We're both thinking the same thing. Do we move into this house?
Right.
We're like,
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No. So we ended up putting an offer on the house. I remember calling my agent and saying, so what do you think? What will they take? I think they were asking like, let's say 125 or 127 or whatever it was. And I offered them like 122. Well, they took it. And that was
125 for all that. I guess that was at the bottom.
Wait. Oh no, it gets better. Wait. This is the best deal ever, right? So I'm trying to give it. Why
did you even offer 122? You're like, I need it for 122.
I did. Well, I said, do you have any other offers? And he said, no one knows about this because it's on the other MLS. I said, let's go at 122. So they took it. So I figured, hey, whatever. Yeah. So we buy the house. We get ready for closing, and my lawyer calls me and says, hey, so you're buying this house over on Foster, and it's got 7 acres of land. I said, no, it's got 2.5. And he goes, nope, 7. I go, I'm telling you, the MLS listing says 2.5. He goes, and I'm telling you as your lawyer, you're wrong. It's 7. And I said, okay. So we bought the house.
Yes. 5 bonus. I've heard of bonus acreage. I've even done some where I got a little bit extra, but you more than doubled it. You tripled it.
Yes. Oh yeah. This is why it makes such a great deal. So we find all that. We close in the house. We renovate the house. We had major contractor problems. So even with
all of the headaches,
we had a contractor problem. They weren't going to pay him. He didn't get the right permits. Then he went and reported us, even though he didn't get the permits. He reported us to the code enforcement. They made us rip out granite countertops to prove
we had the right structural pieces in place
and hire an engineer to come in and prove. And he still made us put extra support. So that was like a $5,000-$6,000 hiccup.
And the property was beautiful. The outside of the house was in pretty good shape. The inside was pretty, it was very, very dated. The woman that owned it had multiple dogs, Great Danes, like 7 of them or something.
7 Great Danes in the house.
It was pretty disgusting inside. The pool was in like a fenced in area, and there was a cover on it, and all the plants were growing up through the cover. So you could actually see there was a pool there. Wow. And so Glenn goes, what is in this fenced in area?
I was right up on it and wasn't quite sure it was a pool. There was that much growth around it. And I literally I was walking very slowly. I remember putting my foot out going, that feels soft. And I press it, all the trees go, and I was like, that's a pool. Okay.
Wow.
And then
I would have laughed so hard if he had fallen in though.
You notice a theme here? First, the icicle killing, and the drowning. There's a lot of issues with her and I apparently going on. I didn't know this was coming out, but apparently it's good to know. So.
She's got different strategies for different seasons. In the winter, she's using ice.
Help anyone. If I disappear, you'll know what happened.
Now we know.
Look at one of the houses. So we go through and renovate. And by the way, this had a detached 6-car garage also.
Yeah.
This property was crazy.
Come on.
Yeah, beautiful. The one challenge was it was right behind us was an old dump. Now it was old, so it was all grown over with grass, and they had those vents that come out to air out the methane or whatever. Yep. So this neighbor said sometimes you can smell in the summer, but not very often. But that was the only kind of downfall.
Yep.
So we flipped the house. We sell it for like $387,000.
How much money did you put into it?
I know our profit. I got to think what our numbers are. Over 100.
That was a lot of years ago.
Yeah, that was a lot of years ago. Over 100, I think.
Okay.
Maybe not around 100. It wasn't horrible. Around 100.
Call 100.
And then I know the price we sold the lots for, but I'll tell you about that. So the process of this, we sold the house, but we subdivided the 7 acres. Now,
Yep.
One was already a building lot. So that this was people.
That was kind of like separate too. It was like a little chunk, a little rectangle over by itself.
It wasn't even attached. It was on another road, and it was all by itself, and it was part of this plot because the people that owned it many years ago they were old farmers that had 100 acres, and as they took stuff out to give to their family, it just sort of like they took pieces of the puzzle out.
Right.
The stuff stuck with the original deed.
I gotcha.
So the one building lot we sold for 40 grand. I put it in the market and sold it just like that to a builder for 40 grand.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, that was great. And the next, so here's where it gets interesting, right?
This is fun.
The next lot, I try to describe this. You come down a private road and you pull in this beautiful area. And it's all private and wooded. Well, the other building lot was like, let me see, that was a small lot. This was like a 1 point something acre, whatever, or maybe a 2 acre building lot. It was right in this person's front yard. Whoever was going to buy the house, it was in their front yard. So now they're quiet.
So you'd lose all your privacy. Like if somebody was going to buy that and build a house on it, you'd totally lose that private feeling.
Right.
And that was a neighbor or that was the subject property?
So the house that we had, this lot was attached to it.
Got it.
And we were planning on, we subdivided it. So we were going to sell that lot.
Gotcha.
Right.
But had we sold that lot,
right,
the existing house that we flipped would be looking right at it. So they would have lost all of their privacy.
So the guy that bought that house, we said, before we put it on the market, we'd like to offer it to you for, $70,000. So we're going to get a premium, right? And he's like, no way. I'll give you 50. And I'm like, nope. So here's how I negotiated. So one of our guys that worked for us said, hey, my dad's a surveyor. I have survey stakes all over the place. You want me to go put some survey stakes out? I said, sure. So he goes on the weekend and he puts in survey stakes.
No way.
The next day we get a phone call from the guy going, will you take 60 grand for that lot? So we settled on 60 grand. I had to owner finance it for about 6 months, I think, but then he paid it off. And it was the funniest thing is that he just needed a little encouragement. That's all.
A little motivation.
Just a little motivation to get him going. And my guy's like, I have these stakes. So I'm for sure. He goes, are you going to sell it? He goes, what are you doing? I go, well, we're getting ready to sell a lot. He's like, yeah. So what will you take for it? That's how we settled that. So we made an extra 100 on the land. So all in, however it worked with the renovation cost, but I know that our profit all in was a hair over $221,000 when we sold everything off. And it took about, a year and a half to get maybe a little less than that, probably a year and 3 months. But we had to pay for the subdivisions. That was a couple $1,000 to get that done. But at the end of the day, still to this day, that's been 7-8 years ago. And that's still the highest profiting single deal that we've done. And that was one of those years where we were struggling to figure things out. We had not done well in a couple other houses. And then you have one of those whammies and you're like, well, that'll even the year out.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So what did the house itself sell for? And did you sell it on the original 2.5 acres?
I think 387. Yeah. That went on like, I want to say maybe, 2.5 acres went with the house or 3 acres or something like that. So I think 387 is what the house sold for.
That's still, just the house get it for 122. That's insane. You got all that acreage. You get a house just by itself was worth 387 plus the bonus acreage. That's crazy.
Now knowing what I know now, well, I still would have done what I did, but knowing what I know, I bet you we could have almost wholesaled. We could have done the subdivision and wholesaled that first house and probably made 100 grand on that without even touching it. Yeah. Because the property was so hot. It was such a great looking location.
It was.
We didn't know about all that back then. We didn't know about wholesaling and how to do all that. But looking back, we probably could have made just as much, but it still was a beautiful property for them. Beautiful deal. It just, everything clicked together. It was like, we just kept laughing about how it all came together, just crazy, right?
Some of my biggest deals have been where there's been some land that we could subdivide. It's like people miss that sometimes, that it's just on a large tract. No, it's on a tract that can be subdivided. Yeah. And that land's worth way more by itself than included in, some big parcel.
It is funny. We've done several like that too. It's like, so you sell them both the lots? Yeah, we'll put it all in the same thing. Okay. Okie doke. Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll take it. How funny that you sold the house though, knowing you had the lot right in front of it. That's amazing.
The survey stake was the best though, because literally the next morning the phone rings. So
right.
Things just got real.
Yeah, they did.
That was hilarious. Yeah. Oh, that was great. Good stuff.
So this was early in your career. What did this do in terms of your mindset? How did it change things for you guys, to build the business you guys have built now?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely opens up the potential for possibilities.
Yeah.
You know, when you make almost $250,000 clear on one deal, you know, you look and say, what an industry I'm in.
Right.
You know, things start to change for you. So I think that totally changed your mindset.
Yeah, psychologically, I think we oftentimes pigeonhole ourselves into, you know, only making a certain amount or thinking that that's all we're worth or whatever happens like that. But then when something like that happens, like Glenn said, it can kind of open your eyes up to other possibilities. And wow, I really, you know, your confidence gets boosted.
We learned about land. That was a big learner about just what we talked about. That was a big learner. And wow, if we could ever find extra lots, which over the years we found many.
Yeah.
And they're always, it's almost like a bag of money. And you have to do a little bit of work. Sometimes you don't have to, right? Sometimes you buy a house, it's all subdivided. They're like, we had a house we bought one time. There was a house that was attached to it in the back. And I didn't know till we bought the house. I walked up there. I was like, there's another road up here. It had road frontage on another road. I go,
oh my gosh,
this is crazy. I remember selling that. We sold that lot for like $50,000. I'm like, that was an extra 50. I didn't know it was going to be there. So we learned the value of land.
Totally. And
how if you know, I think look for every opportunity to maximize a deal. That's probably the biggest thing we learned is, you know, what else can you maximize in this deal? How else can you make money in here? Whatever.
What's the highest and best use of that property?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. We actually go looking for properties on Acreage now for that very reason, because people miss that. They just think they happen to have a house on 3 acres. Well, crap, if I can take one of those acres and use it, build a house on it, even if I break even on the house and get the lot for free, totally worth it. If you can build on it or sell it or whatever you're going to do with it.
Because the house isn't worth more, really. Even if the house has an extra acre on it, it's not worth that much more than, you know, if it's 4 or 3, not going to be like, oh my gosh, I pay an extra $40,000 for that. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
Not for the extra acre. You know?
That's right. Unless you subdivide it. And now it's worth probably 40 or 50 by itself.
Right.
Yeah. That's great, man. Guys, this is a good one. And that's a good reminder for folks that are out there, especially if they're finding properties that happen to have a little bit more land. And you can't really coach somebody on how to get bonus land like you did. Going with 2.5.
That's never happened before, and that may never happen again. To go to the closing table in that high valued of an area and find an extra 5 or 4.5, 5 acres. That was a crazy conversation. I fought with my lawyer for a day. I'm like, I don't think so. He goes, I'm telling you. And I'm like, I just think, and then, no, you had that, this can't be happening to me mentality. This can't be happening.
Right.
We couldn't have gotten that lucky.
I know, but you know, I talked to other people, you and I have talked about stuff. It's like, we're not lucky. We're out there doing our deal.
We're
out there grinding and working. And then that stuff every now and again, they don't happen every day, but every baseball player, I don't care how bad you are, you swing that bad enough, you're going to connect. Sometimes you connect with a big one.
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of our students, they always, you know, they're coming up, how'd you find that deal? How'd you find that deal? And that's our answer, because we're in the game. If you're not in the game and you're not making deals, those kind of things are never going to fall on your lap.
Yeah.
You got to be out there. You got to be doing it.
That's right.
For sure.
That's a very good point. I mean, the reason we're talking about it is because it was a unicorn. It's not going to happen every day, but you're 100% right. It will happen. You will find triples and home runs just by doing this enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you win the game on singles for sure, but every now and again you hit one of these bad boys. I've never taught this since. Believe me, I can't wait to top it. But just haven't as of yet. So.
Yeah, that's right. Guys, thanks so much for coming on, man. This is a great story. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Ken. Appreciate it.
All right. Talk soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Best Deal Ever show, brought to you by BiggerPockets. If you've been energized, entertained, or enlightened by today's show, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ken Corsini, or check us out online at redbarnhomes.com. And don't forget, one man's best deal ever may be the inspiration you need to create your next best deal. So, hope to see you on the next episode.